I'm sure that all of you are aware that the only person that could initiate a launch of the missiles is the President of the United States. He basically does not, contrary to what was just tweeted this week, he does not have a button. What he has is Air Force people or military people with him that carry the football suitcase, and it is through them that he has the information to initiate a missile launch. So, so keep that in mind. There's no red button on the President's desk. The launch here, if the order came from the President to perform the launch, they would receive a message here that would sound something like this. As soon as they heard that Alpha 2 sequence, they would the crew would recognize this was a launch message. One of the officers and one of the other individuals would grab these two notebooks. They'd copy down the 35 symbols that came down in the launch control message into the notebooks. They'd exchange the notebooks. They'd listen to the message a second time. If they both agreed that they'd copied the message correctly, this was the indication that they should the commander and deputy should remove the padlocks from the safe and take out a set of authenticator cards. The second part of the message was an authentication code. If the authentication code started with LP or Lima Papa, they'd open the card for that. They take out what was called a cookie, and this would contain the remaining 5 characters of the launch control message. The if that jibed, there was another part of the message that would be the launch time that would allow them to calculate the launch time. The other part allowed them to set the value for the butterfly control valve, which I did not mention to you about earlier, but which I'll do briefly as once we're down in the silo. Anyway, this was a cutaway of the butterfly control valve. In the mid-70s, a lock was placed on it to prevent an accidental launch of the missile, and the code for that butterfly control valve would be entered up here. So once the crew did that, and once launch time occurred, which could be minutes or hours after the original launch order was issued, the commander and deputy would go to the safe, take out the keys. The commander would place her key here. The deputy's key is over here. It requires 2 individuals who to turn the keys simultaneously and hold the key for 5 seconds. So please place your left hand on the key. It's spring-loaded. I want you to turn it to the 3 o'clock position over here. Just wait. You need to give me a launch countdown. 3, 2, 1, turn. And so go ahead.
3, 2, 1, turn.
Okay, hold for 5 seconds now. Make certain you have it turned all the way that you can turn it. You have just started something that you cannot stop. You can release the key now. There is no oops button, no nothing that will prevent the missile from launching now. The batteries in the missile are being filled with electrolyte now, and very shortly, it takes about 28 seconds for the missile to become fully powered on its own. At this point the silo door will be sliding back open, and the tipsy, it breaks the tipsy, causing the alarm up there. The guidance system makes one last communication to the missile itself, and the engines will be firing shortly. We'll hear claxons go off that indicates the rocket engines firing, and 4 seconds later the explosive bolts that hold the missile down are exploded, and it takes about 4 seconds for the missile to rise out of the silo. The total launch time for this missile is 58 seconds from the time that the key is turned till the missile will launch, and the missile then is on its way for a 6,300-mile journey, taking about 30 minutes, and at that point you do not want to be any place close to target 2.